The more the better. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the City of Tyler Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the first day of November 2016. The first order of business is to call the roll, see who's here. Who's doing that? Dana?
Dana.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Roderick McGee.
Here.
Felicity Reed.
Here.
Deb Jones.
Here.
Michael Carmichael.
Here.
Amy McCullough.
Here.
William Shady.
Here.
David Hudson.
Here. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council. Any item approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, December 14th, 2016, commencing at 9 a.m., with the exception of PD 16-013, Sunset Enterprises, which is scheduled to be heard at the November 9th, 2016 City Council meeting. That's next Wednesday. If you received a notice for this meeting, you have also received a notice for the City Council meeting. Subdivision plats are approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission solely unless there is a request for waiver of escrow fees or construction. Only the City Council makes financial decisions. If any item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item, when that item is called for review, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission should be made only from the podium. This will ensure that comments will be picked up on the microphones and will be recorded as part of the official record. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, although extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. Our next order of business is the minutes from the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved.
I'm going to step out.
At this time, Mrs. Reedy needs to step out for a couple of these issues. All right, Kyle. The first zoning issue is Z16-016 Tyler Blue Ridge LLC, 1951 Blue Mountain Boulevard. Kyle.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a zone change from Agricultural District and RPO Restricted Professional Office District to C1 Light Commercial District. This is to allow for future commercial development. On August 12, 2016, the West Cumberland Road extension was opened, and this has prompted the applicant to request a commercial zoning designation for these properties. The property to the north is zoned agricultural and is developed with the rows along Cemetery. The property to the west are zoned RPO and C1 and are currently undeveloped. The property to the south is zoned PMF, Planned Multifamily District, and is currently undeveloped, while the property to the east is zoned for commercial uses. This request is consistent with the future land use guide, which identifies this property as mixed-use center. As you can see on the zoning map, right here, the property to the south is currently zoned for a 131-unit condominium complex, and so that provides an adequate buffer between the commercial or proposed commercial zoning along West Cumberland and the single-family properties to the south. Of the 4 notices sent, 1 was returned in favor of the request and none in opposition. And staff recommends approval of the zone change from agricultural, planned multifamily, restricted professional office, and PCD to C1 light commercial district.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle?
Yeah, I have a question. Are these the 3 different cases we have?
No, this is actually one
the first
one of the 3. Yeah,
just the first
but there's 3.
There are 3 cases,
properties.
but this is just the first one.
3 tribes and number 1.
Are there any other questions? The only card I have is from Mr. Boudreau, who is available for questions. Any questions for Mr. Boudreau? Mr. Boudreau's practice is at 1321 South Broadway. We're always happy to have him here. Any questions for Mr. Boudreau on this item? All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Z16016.
Motion's been made by Mr. Sheehy to approve this item and seconded by Mr. McGee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is Z18-018 Tyler Blue Ridge LLC, 2035 Blue Mountain Boulevard. Kyle?
This is a similar request. This is from agricultural to C1 light commercial. This is located northwest of the Roselawn Cemetery. The adjacent properties are zoned RPO C1 and agricultural and are currently undeveloped with the exception of the cemetery. This request is also consistent with the future land use guide, identifying the property as mixed-use center. So in 2005, this property was included in the Cumberland Gap development, but was not rezoned from the initial ag zoning, which is typically what's used for interim zoning for property until a more permanent use is established. The applicant intends to develop commercial property much like the plan for the properties across Blue Mountain and further to the west. Of the 4 notices, two were returned in favor of the request and none in opposition. And staff recommends approval of the zone change from agricultural to light commercial.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kyle? Kyle, I have a question. It's really not this item, but it's the cemetery. That's, as I recall, that's a commercial cemetery. It's not the city of Tyler.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm not sure why it matters, but.
It's actually owned by some of the same people as...
Same people.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Kyle? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? The only card I have is from Mr. Boudreau. Again, he's available for questions. Ray? You happy? All right, that's the only card I have on this item. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak on this item for or against? Z16-018.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Z16-018.
Second.
Mr. Jones makes a motion to approve this item, and Mrs. McCulloch seconds. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is... Next is Z16-019 Tyler Blue Ridge LLC, 804 West Cumberland Road. Kyle?
This is a zone change from office and agricultural to, again, C1 light commercial. Again, this is intended to allow for future commercial development along West Cumberland. The properties to the north, east, and south are all zoned for agricultural uses. However, the property to the east is the City of Tyler wastewater treatment plant. The properties to the south are zoned for agricultural uses. This request would amend the future land use guide from single family to mixed use center. The change in conditions of the new street warrants an amendment of the future land use guide to more of a commercial mixed use designation. Of the 4 notices, 2 were returned in favor of the request and none in opposition. Staff recommends approval of the zone change from ag and RPO to C1 light commercial district.
All right, any questions for Kyle? All right, again, Mr. Boudreau is here for questions. Any questions for Mr. Boudreau? If not, I'll also have a card from Mary Alice Milford. Ms. Milford? Mary Alice Milford? Mary Alice Milford of 5201 South Broadway filled out a card and indicated she was available, that she was for the application, was available to answer questions. Is she here?
It's not next week, it's a report.
Oh, this says, okay. That is the next one. Thank you. 16, 14, 19, okay. Is there anybody else here who wishes to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve Z16-019.
Second.
Mr. McGee makes the motion to approve this item. Mr. Carmichael seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item's approved. Would you ask Mrs. Reed to come back in, please? It was a long, hard
Yeah,
slog.
I just got started on reading and here
Long,
was.
hard slog. We finally got through it. The next item is Z16-014, the Women's Building, 911 South Broadway Avenue. Kyle?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a zone change request from R1C, that is a single-family residential district, to AR, that is adaptive reuse district. This zone change is to allow for the portion of a building to be used as an office. The property to the north and south are zone R1C, and it's developed with a church, and it also has a single family to the south. And the property to the west is zone AR, and that is developed with the portrait studio, and the property to the east is in the location of a Hogg Middle School and Children's Park, and that is zone R2. This request is consistent with the for the future land use guide that identifies the property as single-family, medium, low in density. This building is currently used as an event center, and apart from the event center, they want to use it for office space. Out of the 7 notices that were sent, 1 was received in favor and none in opposition, and staff recommends approval of the zone change from single-family residential district to AR, adaptive reuse district.
All right, thank you. Any questions? I have a question on the maps that we were sent. Hogg Middle School is zoned R2. Is that just because nobody has ever bothered to zone it? Should be institutional eventually, is that right?
Well, schools could go in any zone. I don't think they've done anything that would warrant them to want to rezone to INT, but they could if they wanted to.
And one of the maps says townhouse garden apartments, so I guess maybe there's a future there for Hogg Middle School that we didn't quite know about.
Portable building.
Well, the portables are all gone, as we all know, so that's good news. All right, Ms. Milford, I apologize to you, but I do have a card from Mary Alice Milford. Ms. Milford, would you come forward and speak to us, so I can adequately apologize for...
Hi.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Mary Alice Milford, Fitzpatrick Architects, 5201 South Broadway, Tyler, Texas, 75703.
Okay. And you're here in favor of this application?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, any questions for Mrs. Milford? All right, thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you.
Next time you come, I'll try to do a better job. That's the only card I have on this item. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item, for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z16014.
Second.
Mrs. Reedy makes the motion to approve this change to adapt from R1C to AR. Mr. Sheehy seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. Next is Z16-020, Brian Foreman, 117 East Houston Street. Kyle, or
Not any.
whoever's doing this?
This is a zone change request from RPO, Restricted Professional Office, to AR, Adaptive Reuse District. This is to allow for the building to be used as professional office as well as a residential use. The adjacent properties are zone RPO and C2, and it's in location of office and retail store. This request is consistent with the future land use guide, which identifies the district as office. The AR district is more restrictive than RPO, and it also allows to maintain the residential character, and it limits the signage and parking requirements among other restrictions. So this rezoning would allow the property to be used both as a residential and also as a professional office. Out of the 20 notices that were sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of the zone change from RPO, that is Restricted Professional Office District, to Adaptive Reuse District.
All right, thank you. Any questions for city staff? If not, I do have a card for Mr. Foreman. Come on down. State your name and address for the record. Mr. Foreman's the applicant, and he's here to answer questions. Just state your name and address for the record.
Brian Foreman, 117 East Houston. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Foreman? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the only card I have on this item. Is there anybody else here who wishes to speak on this item for or against? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Z16-020, Brian Foreman.
Second.
Mr. Carmichael makes a motion to approve this, and Mr. McGee seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. Thank you for being down here. Next is S16-002, Realty Income Properties 25 LLC, 2025 South-Southwest Loop 323.
This request is for a special use permit and to allow for the small cellular antenna to be mounted to the exterior of the building for an indefinite period of time. The adjacent properties are zoned PCD, M1, C2, and INT, and the property to the north and east are undeveloped, and the properties to the south and west is in the location of All Saints Episcopal School. This request is consistent with the future land use guide, and it identifies the property as institutional. The applicant is proposing to allow for a small cell antenna of 2 feet and 6 inches to be mounted to the exterior of the building. UDC section 10-69 wireless transmission facility states that a special use permit and a site plan is required for broadcasting and communication towers, but generally this is meant for larger towers of 150 feet in height. So the planning department staff intends to add an exception to the UDC in order to expedite the approval process for the small cell antenna such as this one. Out of the 2 notices that was sent, none were received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of this special use permit to allow for the 2 feet 6 inches antenna to be mounted to the exterior of the building for an indefinite period of time.
All right, thank you. Now, if I understand this, we're accustomed to cell phone towers that are big and tall, and the code doesn't provide for 2-foot towers or antennas, and so because it doesn't currently provide for that, we're going to do this, the request is to do this special use permit for an indefinite period of time.
That is
Did
correct.
I get any of that right?
That is correct, completely correct.
I don't have any cards on this item. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this item for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve S16-002.
Second.
Mr. Jones makes the motion to approve this item, and Mrs. McCulloch seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Item's approved. Next is C16-002, Christus Trinity Mother Francis Hospital's alley closure.
This request is for the closure of a 15-feet alley right-of-way to allow for the replating of the existing parking lot that's in existence. The property to the north and south is owned by the applicant, and it is with the location of a parking lot, and the property to the east is in the location of a mental health outpatient service for the Allegiance Hospital, and the property to the west is in the location of a gas station and healthcare center. The use of the alley was discontinued in December 2002, and the property was reconstructed into parking lot that is owned by the applicant. The proposed closure of the alley will allow for the lots to be replatted into one. And out of the 5 notices that was sent, none were received in favor or in opposition to the request. Staff recommends approval of the closure of the 15-foot right-of-way, subject to the abandoned right-of-way being replatted within 6 months.
All right, thank you. Any questions for city staff? I drive by there all the time, and it looks to me like it's a done deal. So the only card I have on this one is from Mr. Kilgore. Kevin, do you have anything to say? Answer available for questions. Mr. Kilgore at 6712 Paluxy Drive is available for questions if anyone has any. If not, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item for or against?
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, go ahead.
I move that we approve C16-002 and contingent upon the plat being done in 6 months, replat.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Application's approved. Next is PD 16-013 Sunset Enterprises Incorporated, 5113 Timber Creek Drive. Kyle?
Yes, sir. This is a planned office development district site plan amendment. This property was previously used as the Apple Swim and Fitness Center. The applicant intends to revise the layout to allow for a daycare and a preschool at this location. All the adjacent properties are currently zoned for single-family residential and are developed with single-family homes. The exception being the property to the south, which is currently undeveloped, as is in a FEMA floodplain. The future land use guide wouldn't change here because the property, the use is changing, not the zoning of the property. It's actually getting a little bit closer to more of a neighborhood use than the previous recreational center. Prior to the last zone change from R1A to planned restricted professional office district, the property was operating under a special use permit, and it was rezoned to planned office district at that time, which required a site plan. And now the property is currently under contract for the Stepping Stone daycare and preschool, and so it's contingent on this being approved. This proposal would allow the property to return to a productive use, as it's been in a derelict state since the closure of the fitness center. A neighborhood meeting was held on Thursday, October 13th, where the applicant discussed plans for the school. Mr. Brown, the applicant here, plans to install a 6-foot perimeter fence around the creek in the rear, as well as a gate at the west property line where the access drive carries traffic to New Copeland Road. The site plan stipulates that the property will have 2 points of access, one from Timber Creek Drive as well as another one through a shared access easement through to New Copeland Road, which would mitigate any traffic concerns that the neighbors would have. The applicant they did a preliminary traffic study and showed that a traffic impact analysis is not warranted, as the count shows about 180 trips at a peak hour. Actually, this type of use actually the peak hours really spread out over a couple hours. It's typical of daycares and preschools. Most people are not coming at the same time. But the threshold to meet to require a traffic impact analysis is 200 trips, and this does not meet that threshold. Of the 35 notices sent out, 1 was returned in favor of the request, and 2 actually have been returned in opposition. We received 1 prior to this meeting. I'm not sure what the exact protest percentage is, but it does not meet the 20% threshold for 3/4 majority from council. So the protest right now is 1.06%. It may be a little bit higher, but it's not over 20% right now. That being said, staff recommends approval of the zone change from the site plan amendment for the planned office district as shown on the screen here.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Any questions? All right, I have a card from Mr. Brown. Hey, come on down and state your name and address for the record. I've got just one question myself. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. Dick Brown, 601 Rosemont Place, Tyler, Texas.
I guess the only question I had was, you know, there's already tennis courts, swimming pool, other buildings. Do you anticipate building anything new or basically refurbishing what's already there?
Yes, sir. We will, the two-story building that's there, the tallest building, we plan to completely gut and refurbish.
Okay.
Then we're building a large classroom building on the upper tennis courts, which is, I think, building number 11 up there. And then a cafeteria gymnasium, which is building number 12, in back of the two-story building.
Okay.
So we'll have about 25,000 square feet in facilities for children all the way up to the age of 13, in addition to an amazing facility for recreation with tennis and beach volleyball and all kinds of activities that Tyler's never had before, including a redone swimming pool.
Great. And do you have, based on your current facility, do you have any idea of what kind of traffic or enrollment that you might have? How many is it going to be? Are you anticipating, well, I'm sorry, I have several questions that get them separate in my brain. One is that what kind of enrollment do you currently have, and do you anticipate greater enrollment at the new facility? We currently enroll about 150 children, and then in addition, we have about 60 to 70 after-school children at age 13 that come in after public school is out. And we anticipate that the after-school program here may increase to maybe 100 children. Those will go out and pick up in a bus and bring to the facility. I don't expect that the normal child care portion will grow that much. Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Brown? All right. Thank you for your time and presence here. I also have a card from Ann Williams. Miss Williams, would you care to speak?
Yes.
Could you come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record? I'm sorry. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Ann Williams, 5104 Kings Park Circle.
Thank you.
Our property is almost backs up to this area where the campus is proposed, and I oppose any zoning change that would increase traffic. And if there were to be 150 students, there to be more traffic and more noise right in our backyard. And all of the neighbors on Kings Park Circle that I've spoken to join me in opposing any zoning change from the recreational area. It's a little pocket of land surrounded by single-family homes on 3 sides, and anything that would increase traffic and noise for single-family homes is something that I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Kyle, do you know where Ms. Williams' house is? Can you tell me?
Yeah, she's actually right here.
Lot 7.
And one thing that the site plan restricts is access to Kings Park Circle. So there would be no vehicular access through Kings Park Circle. A little bit more of the recent history on this site. There were some people looking at developing this for a medium to high density residential, and they did hold a meeting with the neighbors, or at least had some mail-outs with them, and there was significant opposition to that proposal. And so, again, the applicant's coming through for this project to put the property back to use, and more of a, more of an 8 to 5, 8 to 6 kind of, probably more of 8 to 5 or so kind of use during the day.
Do I understand correctly, the zoning is not changing, it's just the site plans?
The site plan.
If they chose not to change the site plan, there would be nothing to do here today. It's just they want to change some things in the site plan.
Well, the POD was restricted to the use for
Okay.
a rec center, so we're also here for the use.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Does anybody remember how long Apple Swim Center, Fitness Center's been there? It's old, and I mean, it's been there quite a while. Does anybody?
16 years.
16 years. Okay.
The new POD will also be restricted to this new use, and that will be all it can be used for until it comes back.
That's correct.
All right, thanks. Those are the only cards I have. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item for or against? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Tara McSwain, 1234 Waterford Court. We have not come to an easement agreement on Lot 2J, which if you look at is all along
Put the subdivision back up.
yeah.
No,
And the driveway all the way to Oakland.
no, there's a better one.
We've spoke a couple times, but we haven't made any agreements. And I think we can come to an agreement, but there has not been one yet.
Well, let me just make two comments. One, I don't think the easement agreement here is really within the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Secondly, I did hear that this was a joint use easement. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me just say again, we're easement agreements are not within the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's not something.
Okay, we just had an attorney and he said to come up here and make sure that we put our protest in.
Sure.
Just to make sure it's on record.
Okay. Well, we're thankful for your time and presence here, and I know you'll work with the owners.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any other cards on this item. Is there anybody else here who? Yes, sir. Come on.
Yes, my name is Richard Leroy Mallory. Live at 1208 Waterford Court. Lived there for, I believe, 26 years. You were asking about the length of time that facility had been used as a fitness center since sometime in the 70s that thing operated. And at this point, that has sat vacant for some time. Ms. McSwain, was connected with Apple, and they were neighbors, and I can't imagine any facility or any business that might go in to that area that would better fit the neighborhood than what the applicant has on the table here. We will all be impacted by traffic, no matter what. Somebody is going to develop that property and build something at some point that will have traffic on it. And I can't think of anything other than a child care center who only operates 5 days a week and certain hours. Whatever we do, traffic is always a problem, but we live in a city, and in a city you have traffic, and that, I can't imagine a facility that would generate less activity in the area than what Mr. Brown is proposing. So I do support the applicant, and the private road goes behind my house. I know there'll be some traffic on it, but we do live in the city, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. It's always good to see you, and thank you for bringing Shirley down here too. That made my day. Are there any other persons here who would like to speak on this item, for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve PD 16013.
Second. Mrs. Reedy makes a motion to approve this item, and Mr. Sheehy seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is Z16-015, William Gomez, 2007 Roy Street. I'm not making fun. I'm making fun of myself. Kyle,
William.
as close as I could get.
This is a zone change from RMH, which is our manufactured housing residential district, to R1A single family residential district. It's really a cleanup item here. A portion of this property was zoned for manufactured homes a long time ago. The applicant's looking to build a detached single family home on this property, and they needed to clean this up. All adjacent properties are zoned for residential uses, and a few of them are currently developed with single-family homes. This request would help implement the Tyler First goal of adding 3,000 more households to North Tyler within the next 20 years. The notice is sent out. None were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of the zone change from RMH to R1A.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle? I don't have any cards on this item. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item for or against? If not, Mrs. Reedy.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve Z16015.
Second.
Mrs. Reedy makes a motion to approve this item. Mr. Carmichael seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Item's approved. All right, now we're down to plats. First one's P16-008 Magnolia Park Edition preliminary plat.
Yeah, this is a plan for a 16-lot subdivision located east of the northeast intersection of County Road 178 and County Road 185. This is in Zone 2 of the Tyler ETJ. The purpose is to plan for 16 residential lots with a private street. The preliminary plat proposes a cul-de-sac in excess of the minimum 600 feet. And so the UDC authorizes the Planning and Zoning Commission to authorize variances for cul-de-sacs longer than 600 feet in length. Cul-de-sacs longer than that require a variance. In reviewing the variance, the Commission will consider the following: alternative designs which would reduce the street, the effect of overlong blocks or cul-de-sacs on the access of services, and any other means of mitigation for the cul-de-sac longer than 600 feet. What staff has done when they're in reviewing the proposed variance for the cul-de-sac length, as you can see here, it clearly exceeds, it's about 1,100 feet in total length. However, this street is proposed to be privately, or it will be privately maintained. It's in the county, and it's only accessing less than 20 lots. And with that being said, staff can recommend approval of the variance to the cul-de-sac length, but the Commission will have to make that that finding as well. With that being said, staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat as well as the variance.
All right, is anyone here who wishes to speak on this plat? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve P16-008 Magnolia Park Addition preliminary plat.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve this plat. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sir, are you Mr. Vandy? Mr. Vandy?
Illinois.
That's, okay, that's not what it says on the card. Thanks. Next is F16-038 Magnolia Park Addition final plat.
This is the final plat for the previous plat. This was intended to plat the first phase, about nine lots. However, the applicant still needs some additional time to work out some of the documents for water and sewer service, as well as HOA documentation for the street. And so the applicant has requested, or has submitted a request to table the plat for 30 days, and they've waived their right to a 30-day review for plats. With that being said, staff recommends tabling the plat until the next meeting on December 6th.
Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Reed makes the motion. Mrs. Carmichael seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. In my inept way, there's a gentleman here who would like to speak on item 5 on the consent agenda. So I'd like to have a motion to remove item 5 from the consent agenda. So
please leave it.
Well, I'm sorry, Richard. He left.
He left.
So he didn't care.
He's not too worried.
He's not too worried. Okay. That brings us to F16-039, the Tennis Homes at Oak Creek final plat.
This is a 9-lot subdivision located in the Tyler ETJ. The purpose of the plat is to create 9 residential lots. All staff comments have been addressed, and staff recommends approval of this plat.
Make a motion, we approve.
Mrs. Reedy makes the motion to approve. And just for the record, I'm looking at the audience, and there's no one here who would likely to speak, be likely to speak on this item. So we're not ignoring the public. Mrs. Reedy makes the motion to approve this, and Mr. Jones seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Plat's approved. Next is F16-046 Barron Estates final plat.
This is a 6-lot subdivision, located in the ETJ north of the city of Tyler. The applicant is still working on getting some of the required documentation together and has waived their 30-day right to plat review. And with that being said, staff recommends tabling the plat until the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table 16-039 until the next meeting.
Second.
Wait, it's
16-046.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm all mixed up. It's F16-046 Barron Estates.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to table this for 30 days. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Vanoy? I thought you'd left us, and I was so disappointed. If there's no objection, we're going to move P16-006 Crown Point Estates preliminary plat up so that you don't have to stay here any longer. Kyle, would you tell us about this preliminary plat?
Yes, sir. This is the Crown Point Estates preliminary plat. Ronnie's going to pull it up here. This is a plan for a 16-lot subdivision located west of the northwest intersection of County Road 167 and Lafourche Drive. This is in the Tyler ETJ in the Gresham area. And so the purpose of this plat is to plan for 16 residential lots. And you can see it right here. There you go. With that being said, this plat met approval conditions for approval, and staff recommends approval of the plat.
All right, thank you. I have a card from Ray Vanoy. Mr., would you like to come forward and state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Ray Vanoy, 3323 Teakwood in Tyler. I'm the surveyor on this project, and I'm available if there's a question I can answer. Thank you.
Any questions for this gentleman? If not, thank you for your time and presence. Are there others in the audience who would just really love to testify or speak on any of these items? Because we want to accommodate you if there are. If not, we go back to, I guess we're at F16-040 Cagle Place Edition. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. All those in favor of the plat?
Cagle.
I'll make a motion that we approve P16-006, Crown Point Estates.
Mr. Jones, Mrs. McCulloch makes the motion, Mr. Jones seconds. I thought we'd already done this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Plat's approved. Next is F16-040 Cagle Place Edition Final Plat.
This is a two-lot subdivision located east of the southeast intersection of Highway 64 East and County Road 214. This is like the other plats we recently had. The applicant requires more time to get the necessary documentation together, and they've waived their 30-day right to plat action, and staff recommends tabling the plat.
Chairman, I move that we table this plat.
Second. Mr. Sheehy makes a motion to table this plat, I guess, for 30 days. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And, Mrs. Reedy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. Next is FOA-16-093, the Smoot Edition, First Amendment.
What about Robertson?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped Roberts, F16-033, Robertson Automotive Edition Final Plat.
This is a three-lot subdivision located in the ETJ along Highway 155 South. The purpose of the plat is to create 3 lots. All comments have been addressed, and staff recommends approval of this plat.
Make a motion to approve F16033.
Mrs. Reedy makes a motion to approve this, and Mr. McGee seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next is F08-16-093, the Smoot Edition First Amendment. Did I get it right this time? Kyle?
This is a 2-lot subdivision located at the intersection of County Road 384 and County Road 3183. This is in the northeast area of northeast of Tyler in the ETJ. The purpose of the plat was to add a lot line, or add a lot to the subdivision, as well as to relocate a lot line. The purpose was to relocate that line in the middle, as you can see here. The applicant did not provide documentation illustrating compliance with wastewater collection and treatment on site. And with that, staff has to recommend denial of the plat for not meeting all conditions of approval.
All right, someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny plat number F08-16-093 because they did not meet the specified requirements by staff.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this plat. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Plat's approved. All right. In the interest of economy.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda for the plat.
Second.
Well, thank you. Is there anybody who wants to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? If not, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved, and we're adjourned. Our next meeting will be November 15th here at 1:30. Is that right?
That will be the work session.
Across the street.
The work session. Yes.
Work session.